It's been 4 days since I filmed the first part of this video. I'm feeling more grounded than I did 4 days ago. So this is gonna be, I think I'm gonna have an easier time filming this and expressing myself and like putting my point across. And as you probably saw, I was very overwhelmed in the first part of this video, and I've had a few other moments of very big overwhelm since then, and I'll probably have more in the future. I don't think I'm not like all better or whatever, but I am feeling more stable. My mental health has just been absolute trash lately. That's just like, that's the theme of this video basically, is like awful mental health. I've been trying to understand why. I've been trying to figure out what's going on, and I think the main two reasons that I found, the main two culprits, are potentially my past trauma maybe catching up with me, and my current condition, my life as it is now, and the fact that I am very happy with aspects of it and very unhappy with aspects of it. And I think that's where I'll start. Is I think I've been saying earlier in this video that I've been depressed for a week or two, but I think I've been depressed for longer than that. It was just not as severe. I think I am entering a more severe phase of depression, but I think I've been depressed for a while because of, well, the lack of motivation. First of all, is a big indication. Motivation, inspiration to do things. And another indication is like low self-esteem. Like when you're in depression, you tend to think very badly of yourself and like your circumstances and everything. Just seeing things through a negative lens, basically. I mean, you could argue that I've had that my whole life, but I feel like the last few months in particular have been like that. And I think it's one of the reasons why I haven't been making as many videos, because I just have an image of myself and of the videos that I make that is very bad, is very negative. I just, haven't had really the motivation, the inspiration to make videos, and haven't been feeling very good about myself or the content that I make, so that doesn't help. Throughout the summer, basically, I've had moments where my mood wasn't very good. I've had phases of pretty debilitating anxiety and stuff like that. But for the most part, my mood was pretty stable, was pretty good, because I kept thinking like I enjoy life and I want to enjoy life. It's just that I don't have the energy to do it. And I think I'm reaching a point where not having the energy to enjoy life is making me depressed. It's not just frustration anymore or boredom with my life or whatever, it's depression. Because realistically, I feel like I haven't lived in the last couple years. It just feels like I've been surviving. And it coincides with the time around which I figured out I was autistic. So I don't know what that means. I've just been so overwhelmed and exhausted that I just haven't, it feels like I haven't been living much. I haven't really been able to like have projects, do fun things, you know. And I remember almost 3 years ago, the end of 2022, I started the process of getting help through the NHS for my mental health at the time and my social anxiety, and like, so that was a year before I figured out I was autistic. And I remember talking to the therapist, the NHS therapist, for the first time, and telling her how small my world was and how much I felt like I was secluding myself, like living like a hermit or whatever, and how much I was suffering from it. And how, you know, people were scary and new experiences were scary and all that jazz. And I remember how distressed I was about that at the time. And looking back, I still had my great aunt. she hadn't passed away yet. I was still talking to my best friend at the time. I was still talking to my parents. I was still talking to my in-laws. So I had like so many more people around me. Obviously, most of them were not very good for me, like didn't make me feel very good. I eventually like stopped talking to them. So it's not like they were great people to be around, but the fact that I already felt that way back then when I had so many more people around me that I could talk to and hang out with than I do now is mind-blowing to me. And I'm like, no wonder I'm feeling depressed, you know? Because like in many ways I was already struggling back then, and in many ways my life is even worse now. I know I'm autistic now, so I have that knowledge, but I'm very much in that phase of like the excitement around figuring out I was autistic has kind of worn off, and I'm like, what now? You know, like it's good to understand and to know and to be able to accommodate my needs, but my life hasn't changed much, you know? I mean, I don't have anyone except my partner. I'm still scared of everything. I still very much live like a hermit, and not out of choice, because sometimes trauma makes me want to convince myself that this is my choice, this is the life that I chose, but it wasn't a choice. I didn't choose to be so secluded, to be so socially isolated, to be financially dependent on my partner. I didn't choose any of that. So I sometimes try to convince myself that I chose this life to make me feel better about myself, but that's not the truth. Yeah, it has been weighing on me for a while now. The fact that my life is so small and my world is so small. And the thing is, at least 3 years ago, I was already struggling with that, but I still had energy to do something about it. Whereas now I don't. I haven't had the energy to do much in the past 2 years. And so it leaves me with this overwhelming feeling of being stuck and not knowing how to claw myself out of it, feeling very helpless. That's been the theme of the last few months, is that feeling of being stuck and feeling like the only exciting thing happening in my life is like a new Netflix show coming out. That's the only thing I like look forward to on a daily basis to get me out of bed in the morning, is like, ooh, maybe a new exciting YouTube video or a Netflix show, because I don't have anything else. I don't really know why I get up in the morning. And I do think there's still an element of burnout. And as I mentioned in this video, I also do think that there's other factors, other things causing me to feel stuck and to feel exhausted and overwhelmed. I do think there's a chronic illness element, as I said, POTS, and possibly like hypermobility spectrum disorder, that kind of thing. Also, my vitamin D deficiency can cause fatigue as well. So I do think there are multiple causes, and I have been trying to figure it out and fix it. It's just figuring it out and fixing it also requires some stamina, like that's the thing, is like becoming unstuck, getting out of depression, getting out of burnout, getting out of, figuring out chronic illness and stuff. It takes energy and some determination. So when you don't have that, or when you're running low on these things, it's hard, it makes it feel like you'll never come out of it. But yeah, my mental health in the last couple of weeks has been really scary. I had a moment a couple of days ago where I genuinely told my partner, like, I don't want to go on. I want this to end, because I was in so much psychological distress. Like, if my partner hadn't been there, I don't know what would have happened. I don't think I'm brave enough to like try anything, but I don't know what I would have done, honestly. Like I'm definitely not, I don't think, at a point of like actually considering taking my own life or like making plans for it or anything like that. I don't want to die. I just have moments where the psychological pain is so big that I just want it to stop, you know? It's the same thing as like someone experiencing such a strong amount of physical pain that like it's unbearable and they would do anything to make it stop, you know. It's the same thing. We've decided that I'm gonna try to see a therapist but my partner is gonna have to help me because, like I said, I don't have it in me to take steps like finding a therapist, or I don't know if it's like the skill regression of autistic burnout or just a side effect of depression and anxiety, but I don't know how to do things anymore like other than like basic daily things like making a meal. Like my problem solving skills are basically non-existent. Like even just like my partner and I were like emptying the pool this morning and stuff, just receiving basic instructions, verbal instructions to empty the pool from my partner was like, it required a lot of focus for me to like process what he was asking me and like do it. So just the thought of like finding a therapist, making the appointment, even like planning or organizing a day trip, a day out, going to an event, like just it is all too much for me. So I need help more than I ever have in my entire life. And unfortunately, the only person who can help me is my partner. And that's a lot of responsibility to put on another disabled person's shoulders. Like I said, I have an appointment next week with the GP I saw in March, who thankfully knows about autism and all that. But I don't know how much help she'll be able to provide. And I'm only able to consider doing therapy because my partner can pay for it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to afford therapy. Like, I don't know whether I need to work towards accepting my circumstances or if I should work towards changing my circumstances. Acceptance or change? I don't know. Maybe a bit of both. That's often the answer. So like I'm trying to leave the house more. I've been going for daily walks. The other day, like we went into town for the afternoon and that was so exhausting. And it's been 2 days and my feet still hurt from walking around so much that I can't stand for long periods of time without my feet absolutely killing me. So that's great. It's this thing of like, I want to get out of this situation that I'm in, but all the things that could help me get out of this situation require more energy than I have, physical or mental. I do think there's an aspect of like, I still need to process a lot of grief. I guess what I mean by acceptance is more so I need to process the grief of the life that I have now. The grief of like low energy, like not having the energy to do much. The grief of not having a family to lean on, not having friends to hang out with. I do think there's a lot of grief there that I need to process. It's gonna sound so sad, but like I keep having dreams in which I am hanging out with friends. It's not even people I know in real life. Most of the time it's just people I'm making up in my head. And I have this joy and this relief of like, oh, it feels good to be hanging out with friends again, you know? I think that's something that like I don't want to admit sometimes because I feel like it makes me look ungrateful, but I do feel very lonely. Even though I have my partner, even though I have my 2 cats, and I literally don't know what I would do without them. I still feel like extremely lonely and isolated. But again, it's the same thing I talked about earlier. It's a problem that I don't know how to solve. I literally don't know how. Like I I have people from my past, it's one person mostly. I have one person from my past, from my high school days, whom I'm still in touch with, but we don't live close to each other, and she's just had a baby. I said congratulations on Facebook and everything, but I haven't texted her because I'm so scared of like being a burden, essentially. Because like I know, well, I don't know from experience, but I have heard how overwhelming it can be to have a newborn, and I don't want to take up her precious time or use up her precious energy or anything. So I haven't texted her in months, even though I want to, because I'm so scared of being a burden. And she's like really the only person really from my past that I still have. I used to have another friend I was close to that we would regularly send emails to each other, and she just stopped replying to me overnight. I don't know what happened. I keep trying to reach her on Instagram and such, and she's ghosting me, and I don't understand why, and I would like to know why, because if it is something I said or did, I want to have a chance to make amends, or if it's too late, then at least learn from it to become a better person. The other person I'm still in touch with, kind of, is more of an acquaintance. She's an ex-student of mine back when I used to teach French when I lived in London. I haven't taught her in like 4 years, but we stayed in touch. But now she has 2 kids, and she's like 10 years older than me. Like my little like naive autistic brain thought that we were friends, and then I was told that we were actually like acquaintances. That broke me a little bit. And since then, again, I have been trying not to interact too much or like text, like send her messages too often, because I don't want to be a burden, because I'm just an acquaintance to her. And people don't have a lot of time for acquaintances. Adult relationships are way too confusing and complicated, and I don't know how to navigate them. I don't know what to do or say a lot of the time. And that's pretty much it. Like between those who don't speak to me anymore and those whom I don't speak to anymore, there's pretty much no one else. And there's also that thing of like talking to old friends or people from my past. There's an element of shame that I'm not proud to admit to, but it is there. Shame that I'm a 28-year-old disabled person without a career, without my own money, with like leading such an isolated, secluded life. There's a lot of shame around that. It means that I can't get as deep as I'd like to when I talk to people from my past, because I'm scared to disclose my autism diagnosis, even though it's a huge part of my life, because I don't know how they're gonna react. The fact that I've got no contact with my parents, that makes people uncomfortable. So there's just a lot of things about my life that I would like to talk about with old friends when we catch up, that I just don't bring up because I don't want to make the interaction awkward, or I don't want them to have a negative reaction or whatever. Like, it's difficult, you know, when people ask me what I do, what I've been up to, and it's like nothing. So I know that the answer would probably be make new friends. I'd love that. I'd like to do that, I think. I just don't know how. I have absolutely no clue. I am feeling a bit better since my partner came back from his work trip. I've been having a really tough time being on my own, being left to my own devices lately. Having my partner here to share the load, but also to spend time with and to speak to and to just have a presence is incredibly comforting to me when I'm going through a tough time like this. And I do worry that I rely on him too much, or like I put too much pressure on him or I expect too much from him. That's unfortunately the reality of him being the only person in my life. At least he has colleagues he talks to on a daily basis. He goes on his work trips and hangs out with his colleagues. He has his parents that he regularly talks to on the phone. Like, he has other people in his life, but he's the only person in my life, and I'm aware that it puts a lot of pressure on him, but I don't know what else to do. I literally don't know what else to do. If it wasn't for my partner or these videos that I make, I wouldn't talk to anyone. To get back to what I was saying earlier, I do think there's an element of needing difficult emotions that I need to process. I'm wondering if maybe another reason why I'm experiencing such a bad mental health phase is because of my past trauma. Like, in case you're new, I have a lot of childhood trauma from having grown up in an abusive household, and where I was abused by my parents and other adults in my life and kids. Basically everyone I called a friend as a child, I realized in recent years were just bullies. They were just bullying me. And I was like, oh, my friends, I love them so much. And they were just bullying me the whole time. So that was great. That's a great realization to have in your late 20s, let me tell you. So I do have a lot of childhood trauma, and I have worked on it on my own as much as possible. I've basically dedicated most of my 20s to trying to heal my trauma, either on my own or with therapists who were pretty useless for the most part. Part of me thinks maybe I'm having such a hard time right now because this is just another symptom of complex PTSD, you know. Maybe I have all these unprocessed emotions coming up to the surface that I need to deal with, to process. Maybe there's a lot of stuff that I have repressed, a lot of repressed emotions that I need to feel, because lately it's very much felt like I get these waves of overwhelming, I keep calling it pain because alexithymia, it's hard to tell what emotions I'm experiencing, but I guess it's overwhelming sadness, maybe something else, I don't know. But I part of me wonders if those are not emotions that I have suppressed in the past that are coming to the surface now, and I need to process them. And I usually don't shy away from my emotions. I'm usually pretty good with sitting with my feelings. This is the first time that I am experiencing emotions that I am genuinely scared of. I am scared of my emotions because they're so big and it feels like they're gonna consume me and I'm not gonna survive them, which sounds a lot like unprocessed trauma. So I don't know. I keep reminding myself that, it's just emotions. Emotions are not dangerous. Emotions are just emotions, and they always eventually go away. No emotion lasts forever. I just need to ride the wave until it passes. It's just sometimes it's so unbearable that, like I said earlier, I get some really dark thoughts. And it's nothing new in the sense that I've been there before in my early 20s, back when I lived in London and I was going through a really, really bad period of my life. And that was the darkest time in our relationship with my partner, because we're about to celebrate our 10-year anniversary. So we've been together since I was 18 and he was 21. So he's been through it all with me. And he's been there at my worst times, It's not something new. It's just we thought that was behind me, essentially. I mean, it had been such a long time that we thought it wasn't going to happen anymore. But one thing that makes me feel a bit better is that my partner is not worried, as weird as that may sound, again, because we've been through this before, and he's like very confident that it's gonna pass, and that apart from this difficult period that I'm in, everything else in my life is falling into place, and like we are slowly figuring things out and finding solutions and stuff. So he's being very optimistic and positive about it all, which in turn like reassures me, because if he was panicking about my current state, I think I would be even more anxious and like, you know. So he helps ground me and reassure me. I'm very grateful for that. Again, I try to look after myself as much as possible. I've been making adjustments in my life these last few weeks since I realized that I probably have POTS, and that has helped to some extent. And so I'm going to continue to do that. That helps to recover some of my energy. I still have very little energy, and I have days that are better than others, but yeah, I'm going to try to focus on that. Focus on my appointment with the GP next week. Focus on my disability benefits application. My god. And I'm very happy to be in autumn, my favorite season. I'm very glad that summer is over. This summer has been absolutely horrendous, both from the perspective of mental health and also just the absolute hell of the heat and everything. So, and my partner was away in June, and then again in August, and then in September, and like thankfully now his next work trip is in January, so he's not leaving for a while. I'm trying to focus on the positive, trying to find joy in my daily life. It's just, apart from this channel, I don't really do anything meaningful in my life. Again, like as I said, because I don't have the capacity. It's just really hard sometimes because the days are long. I'm so tired of watching stuff on the TV, and like that's not, as I said earlier, that's not the life I want for myself. I want a life that has meaning. I want to know why I'm getting up in the morning. I'm gonna keep on keeping on. I'll see you in my next video. Let's survive another day.